Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 27. Here at the section where Sri Sutta Goswami has been speaking about the various incarnations of the Lord. Rashayo Manavo Deva
Trishayo Manvo Deva
Manoputra Mahojasaha
Manuputra Mahojasaha
Kala Sarve Hare Eva
Kala Sarve Harereva
Saprajapataya Smritaha.
Saprajapataya Smritaya.
I'll read.
Please.
Yes, translation. All the rishis, manus, demigods, and descendants of Manu who are especially powerful are plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. This also includes the Prajapatis. Purport. Those who are comparatively less powerful are called Vibhuti, and those who are comparatively more powerful are called Avesha, incarnations.
So the Shakti Avesh, they are like Prithu Maharaj, Vyasadev, they're more powerful. And Vibhuti here, the plenary portions, less powerful, like the rishis, the manus, the descendants of manus, the different demigods, like that. So it depends on how powerful or how less empowered they are. They are either called Vibhuti or the Shakti Avesh avatars. This is a very well quoted verse, Srila Jiva Goswami. This is one of the foundational verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. Ete chamsa kalapumsa
Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam
Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam
Indradi Vyakulam Lokam
Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Hridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Translation. All of the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord, but Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheist. The Lord incarnates to protect the theist. Purport. In this particular stanza, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is distinguished from other incarnations. He is counted amongst the avatars, incarnations, because out of his causeless mercy, the Lord descends from his transcendental abode. Avatara means one who descends. All the incarnations of the Lord, including the Lord himself, descend to the different planets of the material world, as also in different species of life to fulfill particular missions. Sometimes he comes himself, and sometimes his different plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions or his differentiated portions, directly or indirectly empowered by him, descend to this material world to execute certain specific functions. Originally, the Lord is full of all opulences, all prowess, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation. When they are partly manifested through the plenary portions or parts of plenary portions, it should be noted that certain manifestations of his different powers are required for those particular functions. When in the room small electric bulbs are displayed, it does not mean that the electric powerhouse is limited by the small bulbs. The same powerhouse can supply power to operate large-scale industrial dynamos with greater volts. Similarly, the incarnations of the Lord display limited powers because so much power is needed at that particular time.
So, iti chamsa kalapumsa Krishna stu Bhagwan Swayam. There are so many incarnations. We just heard Sutta Goswami listed so many incarnations, expansions, plenary portions, portions of plenary portions of Krishna. But the original personality of Godhead, the original form of God is Shri Krishna, Shyam Sundar Krishna. In Vrindavan, he's having a peacock feather on his head as a flute, he's holding a flute, lotus eyes, two lotus hands. So incarnation, what does incarnation, avatar, what does avatar mean?
One who descends.
Yeah, one who descends. So because the Lord or his expansions, they're descending from the spiritual world to the material world. That's why it's called avatar. That's why they're called avatar. And they're coming, the Lord is coming in different species of life. We just heard Kurma, Matsya. It's a few that we know. He's coming in different species. He's coming himself or his expansions, his plenary portions or parts of his plenary portions. So Krishna, God, he is full in all the six opulences. But when he comes when he has to perform a particular pastime, he only displays, the incarnation displays only as much power as is needed for that pastime. It doesn't mean that the incarnation cannot do other things, that he's not unlimitedly powerful, because it's Krishna's incarnation after all, Krishna's form or expansion. So Prabhupada gives the example that the powerhouse can even supply power to this tiny bulb in our house and also supply power to the big industrial lights. So it depends what's the function. But all the incarnations of the Lord are equally powerful. That's what we have to understand.
For example, Lord Parshurama and Lord Narasimha displayed unusual opulence by killing the disobedient Kshatriyas 21 times and killing the greatly powerful atheist Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was so powerful that even the demigods and other planets would tremble simply by the unfavorable raising of his eyebrow. The demigods in the higher level of material existence many times excel the most well-to-do human beings in duration of life, beauty, health, wealth, paraphernalia, and all other respects. Still, they were afraid of Hiranyakashipu. Thus, we can simply imagine how powerful Hiranyakashipu was in this material world. But even Hiranyakashipu was cut into small pieces by the nails of Lord Narasimha. This means that anyone materially powerful cannot stand the strength of the Lord's nails. Similarly, Jamadagnya displayed the Lord's power to kill all the disobedient kings powerfully situated in their respective states. The Lord's empowered incarnation, Narad, and plenary incarnation, Varaha, as well as indirectly empowered Lord Buddha, created faith in the mass of people. The incarnations of Rama and Dhanvantari displayed his fame, and Balaram, Mohini, and Vamana exhibited his beauty. Dattatreya, Matsya, Kumar, and Kapila exhibited his transcendental knowledge. Nara and Narayan Rishis exhibited his renunciation. So all the different indirectly or directly empowered incarnations of the Lord manifested different features. But Lord Krishna, the primeval Lord, exhibited the complete features of Godhead, and thus it is confirmed that he is the source of all other incarnations. And the most extraordinary feature exhibited by Lord Sri Krishna was his internal energetic manifestation of his pastimes with the cowherd girls. His pastimes with the gopis are all displays of transcendental existence, bliss, and knowledge, although these are manifested apparently as sex love. The specific attraction of his pastimes with the gopis should never be misunderstood. The Bhagavatam relates these transcendental pastimes in the 10th canto. And in order to reach the position to understand the transcendental nature of Lord Krishna's pastime with the gopis, the Bhagavatam promotes the student gradually in 9 other cantos.
So here, Prabhupada is mentioning so many different incarnations and what they came to do. They displayed a specific opulence. Like we are reading here, that Lord Nishingadev, he killed Hiranyakashipu simply by his nails. So powerful. Hiranyakashipu was so powerful. And Lord Nishingadev just killed him with his nails. No need any special weapon, So strong. Hiranyakashipu was so powerful that it said he would just move his eyebrows and the demigods would tremble. And, oh my God, what happened? He's angry now. It was so powerful. And Jamdagnya, that's Parshuram. Parshuram killed the Kshatriyas, 21 generations of them, because they had become irreligious. And Shaktiavesh avatar Narad is a Shaktiavesh avatar. And there's mentioned plenary incarnation Varaha. And what did they do? And Lord Buddha, what was the specific function they did?
Created faith in the mass of people.
Yeah, created faith. That was Narad, Varaha, and Buddha. And what about Rama and Dhanvantari?
Displayed his pain.
And beauty, who exhibited beauty?
Balarama, Mohini, and Vamana.
That's right. What about transcendental knowledge?
Dattatreya, Matsya, Kumara, and Kapila exhibited his transcendental knowledge.
And what did Nar-Narayan Rishis exhibit?
His renunciation.
Yeah, so different incarnations exhibited different opulences of Krishna. But when Krishna came himself, he exhibited all the opulences in full. Beauty, knowledge, renunciation, created faith, everything powerful, supremely powerful. So that is Lord Sri Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan. He's the original personality of Godhead. Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Aham Bhajami. Lord Brahma says, Govinda, you are my seed-giving father. Sarva Karana Karanam. You're the cause of all causes. So all the authorities declare that Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada here is mentioning Krishna's pastimes with the gopis. He exhibited his pastimes with the gopis. What happens? We don't understand Krishna's position and the gopis' position, and we think it's like some ordinary boy and girl, like of the material world, or some movie actor, or some fiction, like we are reading a book or something. So we think these are material affairs, but we have to understand that they are subject matter of the highest spiritual understanding. Otherwise, how such a great personality as Sukadev Goswami is narrating such pastimes? Sukadev Goswami was on the liberated platform, and even he's taking pleasure in narrating Lord Krishna's personal pastimes, because these are completely spiritual. It's because our minds are material, perverted. We think of them as ordinary sex affairs of the material world between boy and girl. But these are matter of great spiritual knowledge. And so that's the reason we are advised not to directly jump to the 10th canto, because we will not be able to understand these pastimes. That's why we are said, study the Bhagavatam from the first canto. First, understand Krishna's pastimes with the material energy. Then we will be able to understand his pastimes with his spiritual energy, because the gopis are all expansions of his spiritual energy. Just as this material creation is expansion of his material energy. So the creation is Krishna's pastime with the material energy. And we need to understand this because we are in the material world. Our experiences is all material right now. So we cannot just jump to the 10th canto and start commenting on the 10th canto without understanding the position of the gopis. Who are the gopis? Who is Lord Krishna? So gradually, as we read from first canto to 9 cantos, then it prepares our consciousness to actually to be able to read the 10th canto.
According to Srila Jiva Goswami's statement, in accordance with authoritative sources, Lord Krishna is the source of all other incarnations. It is not that the Lord Krishna has any source of incarnation. All the symptoms of the Supreme Truth in full are present in the person of Lord Sri Krishna. And in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord emphatically declares that there is no truth greater than or equal to himself. In this stanza, the word Swayam is particularly mentioned to confirm that Lord Krishna has no other source than himself. Although in other places the incarnations are described as Bhagavan because of their specific functions, nowhere are they declared to be the Supreme Personality. In this stanza, the word Swayam signifies the supremacy as the Summum Bonum.
So Krishna, he is the cause of all causes. All incarnations are coming from him. Just as, one candle can light so many candles, and all the candles can give equal heat and light, but yet there is one original candle, and that is Sri Krishna. So Krishna has no source. He exists eternally. He is God. He is the Supreme Personality. And from him, everyone else is coming. All the incarnations, the demigods, the living entities, the material world, the spiritual world, everyone, everything is coming from Lord Krishna. He has no other source than himself. He is the creator. So he is called as the Samam Bonam. Krishna himself is saying in Bhagavad Gita, there is no truth greater than or equal than him. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. He is Swayam Bhagavan, Asamordhva. Krishna's position, Asamordhva. There is no one equal to or greater than Krishna. Nor can anyone become equal to or greater than Krishna.
The Samam Bonam, Krishna, is one without a second. He himself has expanded himself in various parts, portions, and particles as Swayam Rupa, Swayam Prakasha, Tad Ekatma, Prabhava, Vaibhava, Vilasa, Avatara, Avesha, and Jivas, all provided with innumerable energies just suitable to the respective persons and personalities. Learned scholars in transcendental subjects have carefully analyzed the Samam Bonam, Krishna, to have 64 principal attributes. All the expansions of or categories of Lord possess only some percentages of these attributes. But Sri Krishna is the possessor of the attributes sent person, and his personal expansions such as Swayam Prakasha and Tad Ekatma up to the categories of the avatars who are all Vishnu Tattva possess up to 93%. Of these transcendental attributes, Lord Shiva, who is neither avatar nor Avesha, nor in between them, possess almost 84% of the attributes. But the jivas, or the individual living beings in different statuses of life, possess up to limit of 78% of the attributes. In the conditioned state of material existence, the living being possesses these attributes in very minute quantity, varying in terms of the pious life of the living being. The most perfect of the living being in Brahma, the supreme administrator of one universe. He possesses 78% of the attributes in full. All other demigods have the same attributes in less quantity, whereas human beings possess the attributes in very minute quantity. The standard of perfection for a human being is to develop the attributes up to 78% in full. The living being can never possess attributes like Shiva, Vishnu, or Lord Krishna. A living being can become godly by developing the 78% transcendental attributes in fullness, but he can never become a god like Shiva, Vishnu, or Krishna. He can become a Brahma in due course, the godly living being who are all residents of the planets in spiritual sky are eternal associates of God in different spiritual planets called Haridhama and Maheshadhama. The abode of Lord Krishna above all spiritual planets is called Krishnalok or Goloka Vrindavan. And the perfected living being, by developing 78% of the above attributes in fullness, can enter the planet of Krishnalok after leaving the present material body.
So Srila Jiva Goswami, he and all the other learned scholars, they have declared Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because all the Vedas, all the scriptures are saying, the various scriptures, Puranas, Srila Vyasadeva himself, he himself says the absolute truth is Lord Krishna. He begins Bhagavatam with that. So Krishna, he has so many expansions of his expansions. Some of his expansions are his personal expansions, which are Vishnu Tattvas. And some of his expansions are us, his separated expansions, which are called Jivas. And all of us are getting whatever energy that we have is being provided by Krishna, because he's the original source. He gives everyone as much as needed. The various incarnations of his expansions or the jivas, he gives as much as needed. So the devotees, the pure devotees, learned scholars in transcendental subjects, have analyzed Krishna to have 64 principal qualities, the summum bonum Krishna. So God has 64 qualities in full, 100%. So 64 Krishna has. Then Lord Vishnu and Krishna's other incarnations, the Vishnu Tattvas, have 60 of these qualities. They have 60. Lord Shiva, he is an expansion of Krishna also, but he's not Vishnu Tattva. He's an own category by himself. Lord Shiva, but he's not an ordinary living entity. He's not a Jivatma. His relationship with Krishna is explained as milk. When you add some citric acid to it, it turns into yogurt. So milk can be turned into yogurt, but once it's become yogurt, you cannot turn it back into milk. It remains yogurt. So that is the position of Lord Shiva. Yeah, because everyone is an expansion of Krishna. Depends on, some are personal, so those are Vishnu Tattvas, that's God. And we are separated expansions, we are the Jiva Tattva. No, the minute living entities. But Lord Shiva, he's neither Vishnu Tattva nor Jiva Tattva. He has his own category. So he has Krishna's qualities, 55 of Krishna's qualities. So the Vishnu Tattvas, they have 60 of Krishna's qualities. And so that's why they are said to have 93%. So Krishna has 100%. Vishnu has 93% because he has 60 qualities. Lord Shiva has 55 qualities. So it's almost 84%. And the living entities, we, the jivas, when we are in our perfect stage, we can have up to 78% of these qualities, which are 50. The perfected living entity can have 50 of these qualities, 78% of God's qualities. Lord Brahma, he has this 78% of the qualities in full. Different demigods have it in different degrees. And we, the living entities, we also have them, but very minute, very, very minute degree, depending on our consciousness. So our perfection is if we can get this 50 qualities of God. And that enables us to go to the spiritual world. There are many planets in the spiritual world. They are called Haridham, where Lord Krishna or his expansions, Vishnu Tattvas live. Mahesh Dham is where Lord Sadashiv lives. Lord Sadashiv also has his planet in the spiritual world. It's called Mahesh Dham. And the highest planet in the spiritual world is called Golok Vrindavan, where Krishna personally lives. And we, the jivas, by developing the 78% of the qualities, we can go to the spiritual world after we give up this material body. So every living entity has 78% of God's qualities because we are part and parcel of God. So we don't have 100% of his qualities, but we have 78%. Lord Brahma has these qualities in full. Right now, because we are in the material world, material body, we have them in minute, very minute quantities, also depending on our consciousness, our karma, our pious activities. The different so Lord Brahma has them in full, the different demigods have them in various degrees. So each of us have godly qualities, but not in full. Only Krishna has them in full, 100%. Is that okay?
Yes.
So we can see that in our perfect stage, we can get 78% of God's qualities. And that qualifies us to associate with God, be with God, face to face, talk to Him. That's in, okay. Then text 29. Janma Goyam Bhagavato.
Janma Goyam Bhagavato
Bhagavato.
Ya etat prayato naraha.
Ya
Etat
prayato naraha.
Etat prayato naraha
Sayam pratar grinan bhaktya.
Sayam
pratar
Granam
bhaktya.
Dukha gramat vimuchyate.
Dukha gramat vimuchyate. Would anybody like to continue?
I can continue.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Recite the mysterious appearances of the Lord with devotion in the morning and in the evening gets relief from all miseries of life. Purpose. In the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead has declared that anyone who knows the principles of the transcendental birth and activities of the Lord will go back to Godhead after being relieved from this material tabernacle. So simply knowing factually the mysterious way of the Lord's incarnation in this material world can liberate one from material bondage. Therefore, the birth and activities of the Lord, as manifested by Him for the welfare of the people in general, are not ordinary, They are mysterious, and only by those who carefully try to go deep into the matter by spiritual devotion is the mystery discovered. Thus, one gets liberation from material bondage. It is advised, therefore, that one who simply recites this chapter of Bhagavatam, describing the appearance of the Lord in different incarnations, in sincerity and devotion, can have insight into the birth and activities of the Lord. The very vimukti or liberation indicates that the Lord's birth and activities are all transcendental. Otherwise, simply by reciting them, one could not attain liberation. They are therefore mysterious, and those who do not follow the prescribed regulations of devotional service are not entitled to enter into the mysteries of his birth and activities.
So here Srila Sutta Goswami is saying that whoever carefully recites the mysterious appearances of the Lord with devotion in the morning and in the evening gets relief from all miseries of life. That's simply by repeating this chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, in which we are hearing how Krishna has so many different incarnations, so many portions of ordinary portions. We can get liberation just by hearing about his pastimes of his different incarnation. Now, if we hear of any other material person, we are not going to get liberation. We'll get more and more entangled. This is because that is material. But the appearances of the Lord personally or his incarnations, all this is spiritual, is transcendental subject matter. And that's the reason it can help us to get liberation, get free of this material world, just carefully with devotion, by hearing these wonderful appearances of the Lord. Prabhupada is saying by spiritual devotion, if one goes deep into this matter, try to understand Krishna's appearance with devotion, we can understand the mystery of Lord Krishna. It's very difficult to understand Krishna, but Krishna says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. I can be known only by devotion. So we can understand it's a difference in hearing pastimes of Krishna and hearing about any other ordinary mundane person. An ordinary mundane person is going to keep us. We hear about them, we talk about them, we understand them. It's going to keep us more and more in the material world. So Krishna is saying, just try to understand. He's saying in the Bhagavad Gita, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, in the 4th chapter, Evam Yoveti Tattvataha. He's saying, understand my position in Tattva, in truth. And just by understanding that my body is transcendental, my appearances are transcendental, my activities, my pastimes are all transcendental, you can go back home, back to Godhead, get liberation, get free from the material world. So Prabhupada is saying that the activities of the Lord and the birth of the Lord, they are mysterious for those who do not follow the prescribed regulations of devotional service. But one who engages in devotional service, then one can understand the mysteries of Krishna's birth and Krishna's pastimes. Etad rupam bhagavato
Etam rupam bhagavato
hi arupasya chid atmanaha
hi arupasya chit atmana
maya guner virachitam
maya guner virachitam
mahadadibhir atmani.
mahada sibir atmani.
तस्य चित् आत्मनः
Translation. Sorry.
माया
Translation. Translation. The conception of the Virat universal form of the Lord as appearing in the material world is imaginary. It is to enable the less intelligent and neophytes to adjust to the idea of the Lord having form. But factually, the Lord had no material form. Purport. The conception of the Lord, known as the Vishvarupa or the Virat Rupa, is particularly not mentioned along with the various incarnations of the Lord, because all the incarnations of the Lord mentioned above are transcendental and there is not a tinge of materialism in their body. There is no difference between the body and self as there is in the conditioned soul. The Virat Rupa is conceived for those who are just neophyte worshippers. For them, the material Virat Rupa is presented, and it will be explained in the second canto. In the Virat Rupa, the material manifestations of different planets have been conceived as his legs, hands, etc. Actually, all such descriptions are for the neophytes. The neophytes cannot conceive of anything beyond matter. The material conception of the Lord is not counted in the list of his factual forms. As Paramatma or Super Soul, the Lord is within each and every material form, even within the atoms. But the outward material form is but an imagination, both for the Lord and for the living being. The present forms of the conditioned souls are also not factual. The conclusion is that the material conception of the body of the Lord as Virat is imaginary. Both the Lord and living beings are living spirits and have original spiritual bodies.
So Prabhupada is explaining that now we heard of so many incarnations, expansions of expansions, but was not mentioned about the Virat Roop, the universal form of the Lord. Because universal form of the Lord, the Lord has no material form. All the incarnations we heard about, they are all spiritual, transcendental, not material body. Even the spirit soul, we have spiritual body. But right now, because we are in the material world, we have a material body. But in the spiritual world, we don't need this material body. We are over there in our same spiritual body. So there is no difference in the spiritual world between the soul and the body. It's the same because there is spiritual bodies. Right now, there's a difference between our soul and our body because we are here in the material world. So we have to put this uniform of the material world. But when we go to the spiritual world, we don't need this uniform of material world. We can be in our own original self. So the Virat Roop of the Lord is for the beginners to try to understand that God also has a form. Because otherwise because people may not be able to understand, oh, how God can have a form. God is unlimited, so how can the unlimited have a form? But because he's unlimited, so he can also have a form. That's the meaning of unlimited, that he has unlimited powers. He can be formless, yet have a form. He can be unlimited and he can have a form. That is the meaning of unlimited. And what is formless is his Brahman, the Brahma Jyoti, which is coming out of his body. So God has a form. So to make us understand, who may not be able to understand that there is a spiritual form, for us to understand that God has a form, we are taught about this Virat Roop. We'll hear more in the second canto, when the creation is more specifically mentioned, that how the lower planets are the feet of the Lord. Then as the planetary systems goes higher, they become the waist, and the face, and the clouds are the hair on his head, and the hills are the bones, But we have to understand that this Virat Roop is only for one who cannot understand that God can have a spiritual form, for them to begin this understanding that, yes, God has a form. Yeah. Yatha nabhasi megho
Yatha nabhasi megho go.
Yatha nabhasi megho go.
renurva parthivo nile.
Renurva parthivo
Renu Parthivo Nile.
Evam drashtari drishyatvam
evam drashtari
Evam
drishyatvam
drishtari drishtvattam.
aropitam abudhibihi.
aropitam abhidhibihi.
Aropitam.
Neetu, you'll continue to read?
Yeah, sorry. Clouds and dust are carried by the air, but less intelligent persons say that the sky is cloudy and the air is dirty. Similarly, they also implant material bodily conceptions on the spirit self. Purport. It is further confirmed herein that with our material eyes and senses we cannot see the Lord, who is all spirit. We cannot even detect the spiritual spark which exists within the material body of the living being. We look at the outward covering of the body or subtle mind of the living being, but we cannot see the spiritual spark within the body. So we have to accept the living being's presence by the presence of his gross body. Similarly, those who want to see the Lord with their present material eyes or with the material senses are advised to meditate on the gigantic external feature called the Virat Rupa. For instance, when a particular gentleman goes in his car, which can be seen very easily, we identify the car with the man within the car. When the president goes out in his particular car, we say, there is the president. For the time being, we identify the car with the president. Similarly, less intelligent men who want to see God immediately without necessary qualification are shown first the gigantic material cosmos as the form of the Lord. Although the Lord is within and without, the clouds in the sky and the blue of the sky are better appreciated in this connection. Although the bluish tint of the sky and the sky itself are different, we conceive of the color of the sky as blue, but that is a general conception for the layman only.
So Sutta Goswami is saying clouds and dust are carried by the air. But we think the air, we say that the sky is cloudy and the air is dirty. We say that, right? Oh, the air is dirty, the sky is cloudy. The sky is not cloudy. The clouds are in the sky. So there's a difference, right? So people, because we cannot see God right now with our material eyes. We cannot even see the spirit soul ourselves. Because our eyes are material, our senses are material. We need spiritual eyes to see God or to see the spirit soul. So how we understand this person is existing by looking at his gross body. We say, this person is there, right? Just as Prabhupada is saying that the president is going in his car or his aeroplane. So we say, the president is there. Although we cannot see the president, but because we can see his car or his aeroplane, we see the president is there. Just as we are not able to see the soul, we are seeing his body, but we say, this person is here. So similarly, anyone who wants to see God right away, then we say, yes, see here, this is the universal form of God, where all the planets are there, all the Virat Roop, where one can see, this wonderful manifestation of God, of the material world. Because what we can see right now is matter. We cannot see spirit. So this is how we are being explained. And Prabhupada is saying that the clouds in the sky and the blue of the sky are better appreciated in this connection. The bluish tint of the sky and the sky itself are different, but we say the sky is blue. But it seems that the bluish tint and the sky, they are different. Just as the clouds are different than the sky, but we say the sky is cloudy, or the dirt and the air is different, but we say the air is dirty. Like that. So for people who cannot understand that how God can have a form, we begin like that, seeing the Virat Roop, that this is the form of the Lord, which the whole creation is happening. So it's more detailed about the Virat Roop in the second canto, when we hear more about the creation there. Atha param yad avyaktam.
Atha param yat avyaktam.
Avyudha guna brahmitam.
Avyudha
gunam brahmitam.
Adrishta shruta vastutva.
Adrishta ashruta
Shastruta
vrastutva.
Vashtuva
Sajivo yat punarbhavaha.
Sajivo yat
Yat
punarbhavaha.
Punarbhavaha. Anyone else wants to read? Okay, I'll continue. Translation. Beyond the cross conception of form is another subtle conception of form, which is without formal shape and is unseen, unheard, and unmanifest. The living being has a form beyond this subtlety, otherwise he could not have repeated births. Purpose. As the cross cosmic manifestation is conceived as a gigantic body of the Lord, so also there is a conception of this subtle form, which is simply realized without being seen, heard, or manifested. But in fact, all these gross or subtle conceptions of the body are in relation with the living beings. The living being has a spiritual form beyond this gross material or subtle psychic existence. The gross body and psychic functions cease to act as soon as the living being leaves the visible gross body. In fact, we say that the living being has gone away because he is unseen and unheard. Even when the gross body is not acting, when the living being is in sound sleep, we know that he is within the body by his breathing. So the living being's passing away from the body does not mean that there is no existence of the living soul. If there otherwise, how can he repeat his births again and again?
So the body is different than the soul. We are inside the body. We are inside the body. Because we are inside the body is functioning. Even when we are sleeping, we are understood that we are still inside the body. But when we leave the body, we say, oh, he passed away. So what passed away? Is the soul passed away. And the soul goes into another body. So the soul, we have the gross body and the subtle body. That's what is said, subtle psychic existence. The psychic functions, the mind, intelligence, false ego. Gross body is this body which we can see. So
The conclusion is that the Lord is eternally existent in his transcendental form, which is neither gross nor subtle like that of the living being. His body is never to be compared to the gross and subtle bodies of the living being. All such conceptions of God's body are imaginary. The living being has his eternal spiritual form, which is conditioned only by his material contamination.
So just as we are spirit souls, we are eternal, we have a spiritual form, which is different than this material form. God also has his own spiritual form, his eternal form. He never takes a material form. Krishna, when he comes, he never takes a material form. This Virat Roop is for us to understand that how God has created this material world, how God can have a form. But God's form is always transcendental. Yatre me sat asat rupe.
Yatri में असत रूपे
Pratisiddhe swasamvida.
प्रतिसिद्धि samvidha
Avidya yatmani krite.
avidyayatmani krite
Krite.
Iti tad brahma darshanam.
itihat
Brahmadarshanam.
brahmadarshanam. Translation. Whenever a person experiences by self-realization that both the gross and subtle bodies have nothing to do with the pure self, at that time he sees himself as well as the Lord. Purport. The difference between self-realization and material illusion is to know that the temporary or illusory impositions of material energy in the shape of gross and subtle bodies are superficial coverings of the self. The coverings take place due to ignorance. Such coverings are never effective in the person of the personality of Godhead. Knowing this convincingly is called liberation, or seeing the Absolute. This means that perfect self-realization is made possible by adoption of godly or spiritual life. Self-realization means becoming indifferent to the needs of the gross and subtle bodies and becoming serious about the activities of the self. The impetus for activities is generated from the self, but such activities become illusory due to ignorance of the real position of the self. By ignorance, self-interest is calculated in terms of the gross and subtle bodies, and therefore a whole set of activities is spoiled, life after life. When, however, one meets the self by proper culture, the activities of the self begin. Therefore, a man who is engaged in the activities of the self is called Jivan Mukta or a liberated person, even in the conditional existence.
So we are spirit souls. Right now we are covered by the subtle body, which is mind, intelligence, and false ego, and the gross body, this body that we can see with the senses, our flesh, blood, bones, which is made of earth, water, air, fire, ether. So these are coverings of the soul. But what's happened is instead of looking at them as coverings, we are thinking we are the body, either gross or the subtle. And that is our ignorance. And we are acting as if we are the body. So when we will be able to actually understand, oh, I'm not this material body, I am a spirit soul. My identity is different than this material body. Then our activities are also going to be different. Then such a person is called Jivan Mukta because he is engaging in the activities of the soul, not the body. What we are doing is we are acting because we are thinking we are the body, we are engaged in all the activities on the bodily platform. Body as physical body or mind or intelligence, false ego, like that. But a liberated person is one who has understood that I am separate from this body.
The perfect stage of self-realization is attained not by artificial means, but under the lotus feet of the Lord, who is always transcendental. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that He is present in everyone's heart, and from Him only all knowledge, remembrance, or forgetfulness takes place. When the living being desires to be an enjoyer of material energy, illusory phenomena, the Lord covered the living being in the mystery of forgetfulness, and thus the living being misinterprets the gross body and the subtle mind to be his own self. And by culture of transcendental knowledge, when the living being prays to the Lord for deliverance from the clutches of forgetfulness, the Lord, by his causeless mercy, removes the living being's illusory curtain, and thus he realizes his own self. He then engages himself in the service of the Lord in his eternal constitutional possession, becoming liberated from the conditioned life. All this is executed by the Lord either through his external potency or directly by the internal potency.
So we heard condition because we are thinking we are the mind or the soul. So we are thinking we are this. I'm sorry, we are thinking we are the body or the mind. We have forgotten we are the soul. Then how can we again understand we are the soul? By taking shelter of Krishna, by praying to him, by pleading to him that kindly remove this curtain of Maya. The best prayer is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. By praying to Krishna to remove this forgetfulness of ours. Krishna, he is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sanivishta. He is a Paramatma in the heart. From him comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Mata Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. He is the one who's giving us remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge. So why we have forgotten we are the spirit soul, why we are thinking we are the body, is because we want to enjoy this material world. That's why we have forgotten we are the soul. Because once we remember we are the soul, we won't be able to enjoy this material world. So because we want to enjoy this material world, we are put in the forgetfulness. But when we start beginning to hear from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, when we understand, oh, I'm not actually this body, I'm spirit soul. And when we can pray to God, please remove this forgetfulness. Please give me knowledge. Please help me to remember. Then by His mercy, He can remove our forgetfulness, our illusion, and we will be able to understand who we truly are. And when the soul understands who the soul is, what he does, he engages in devotional service because he understands his relationship with God. He understands he's not the body, spirit, soul, part and parcel of God. All the illusion is gone. Then he engages in devotional service. And Prabhupada is saying all this is executed by the Lord either through his external potency or directly by the internal potency. For Krishna, it's all his energies. He can use any of his energy, whichever he likes, because it's his, no? So, taking shelter of God, praying to him, I've forgotten you. Please help me to remember the truth. Because Krishna is saying, Remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness is coming from him only. So we pray to Krishna, kindly give me the knowledge. Kindly help me to remember my true identity. Kindly take away all this forgetfulness. So we'll stop here for today. Did anyone have any comment or question? Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Hare Krishna.